Welcome to another episode of the FlipTech East Coast Podcast, a podcast designed to introduce you to this year's teacher presenters. This year's conference is being hosted by Collingswood High School and is being held on June 29th and 30th. The conference is presented by the Flip Learning Network. In this episode of the podcast, we introduce you to Kyle Niemis. Kyle is a session speaker from New Jersey. He will be presenting on Flip Learning and UDL, how Flip Learning can allow students choice and ownership of their learning. If you are interested in hearing Kyle or any of our other teacher presenters speak at this year's conference, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org to register. Again, that's fliptech.fliplearning.org. And now we pick it up with Kyle. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the FlipTech East Coast Podcast, and today we're excited to bring to you Kyle Niemis from the New Brunswick, South Brunswick, one of the Brunswick school districts. There's about 7 of them around here, so I always get confused. But Kyle will be presenting Flip Learning and UDL, how Flip Learning can allow students choice and ownership of their learning. Kyle, that's a mouthful to say, but we're so excited to have you here today. Hey, how you doing?
Good, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is an exciting time. So you have to clear it up. In my intro, it's New Brunswick, South Brunswick.
South Brunswick, yeah, middle school science.
Middle school science. Well, tell us about yourself then. Just started down this road. Might as well keep going,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've been teaching for 12 years. Middle school science teacher. I would say I've been flipping for about 5. And even that has been different for every stage of the road because, as anyone who's flipped knows, it kind of evolves along the way. I got 2 little kids. I teach a college course on the side to teachers going back for their masters, and it's a UDL class. So that's why I feel like I love this topic that we're going to talk about, UDL and kind of flip learning. To me, they go hand in hand, so it should be cool.
Are you an adjunct at TCNJ?
Yeah, so it's through TCNJ. It's a program called RTC, Regional Training Center, and they do masters for teachers, and but the degree's from TCNJ. Yeah, it's a phenomenal program.
And just because I know this, I'm not sure if you want to bring it up, but I'll bring it up anyways for our audience. You're also one of the founders of a tool that I use, Classroom Q. Is that true?
Yeah. We've it's something we've been working on now for a couple of years, and it's out in the world. And I mean, if you are in the flipped education world, I would love for you to check it out. I mean, we made it. Another teacher and I made it just for the sole purpose of it fit our learning style in kind of a self-guided kind of classroom using technology to help kids. So yeah, we made it. We love it. It's simple. So we'd love for people to check it out.
And we'll get into the real interview in a minute, but let me just explore Classroom Q for a minute. For those people in our audience, what does it do? I think it's very straightforward to use, but why would somebody want to use Classroom Q?
Yeah, I mean, so that's the question we always get too. So basically, it's hand raising in a digital age. We've even had it called like a digital deli ticket. You know, and so basically, the big idea behind it is now more than ever, kids are able to work independently and kind of go at their own pace, and we are less and less in front of the classroom, and we're more and more guides on the side helping kids. So because our role has taken more of a role of walking around, really having good conversations with kids, it means that more kids probably need us and ask for our attention. So we use technology. So the premise is basically, instead of sitting there with their hand up, wasting their time forever, waiting for us to get there and wasting our time and their time, they just basically click a button and it puts the name on like a little queue, and the teacher can kind of chip away at them and they can get back to work. And it's simple. It relieves stress in the classroom. Honestly, I can't imagine now going back to a world where kids are raising hands, waiting for me, or coming up to me, waiting in line. It makes things super streamlined and efficient. And honestly, I think it's the easiest tool ever to use.
And we'll get into your presentation right after this, but I do want to say, as a guy who's used it, I will say that I think it's super easy to use, and it does serve a really important purpose in the classroom. And so Classroom Q is not why we're here. We're here because you're a speaker at FlipTech East Coast on June 29th and June 30th, and so we're so excited to have you. And we just can't wait. But let's talk about you for a little bit. Have you ever presented at a conference, a big conference like this?
Yeah, so I presented a bunch. We here at South Brunswick actually kind of do a whole big New Jersey-wide, I guess really it could be anyone, but usually New Jersey-wide It's called TLC. It's coming up in end of June. So I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And then I present all the time, UDL and Flip Learning and other stuff for my district. So, and then also I feel like teaching a grad school class of teachers in a way is just a lot in the same realm of just kind of helping teachers be successful. So now it's something I do, something I love, and it just gives me something else that's enjoyable besides teaching.
And you probably touched on this a little bit, but what makes you keep wanting to present? Like it seems like you've been doing this for a couple of years now, and you don't show signs of giving it up. So what makes you want to keep coming back to it?
I mean, I guess the same reason you love teaching, right? Like that moment where you see a teacher email you or start implementing something and they tell you that they've reached more kids because of things that you taught them, or their just lives are easier. I just think that it's really gratifying, and teachers usually are really into learning, obviously, because they teach the learning. So I don't know, I just get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. There's something to be said for teaching a bunch of people who are there because they want to be there. Yeah. Sometimes district and services can be a little tough because it's kind of captive audience as opposed to a free audience. So I totally understand what you're saying. It's a good rush to get from those.
Yeah,
people.
it is.
So, well, in terms of your presentation is titled Flip Learning in UDL. And so for the audience, UDL is the Universal Design for Learning. Most of us know what that stands for. And it's how Flip Learning can allow students choice and ownership of their learning. Describe what's going to be at your presentation. What are you going to do? How's it going to go? Without giving away the whole thing. You want to save a little bit for the actual conference, but what do you got in store for us?
So I think so a lot of times we focus a lot on Flip Learning. For anyone who's into Flip Learning, you might know the benefits about kids working at their own pace and access everywhere. So there's a lot of benefits to just having lessons recorded. But to me, the reason that I love having my lessons recorded and flipping my lessons is because ultimately what it allows kids to do is use that as a resource, but ultimately learn the way they want to learn. So it allows me to walk around, help kids, and give them lots of different choices to really hit up the kids who like to learn fast, slow, like to move, like to draw. So it just kind of, to me, having my lessons recorded opens a UDL environment, which is universally designed for learning, so I can put out all the best resources for kids. And it's awesome. So like if you walk into my class on a day where I'm doing this, you'll see some kids watching videos, some kids up at the drawing board, some kids doing hands-on stuff. And the fact that my lessons are recorded and I'm not in front of the class allows me to create an environment that kids can learn how they want to learn. So I'm a huge, huge advocate of students owning their learning and choosing the way they want to learn. So I really just want to show how that's possible, because it could seem really scary, the idea of kids doing a lot of different things at the same time, and how do you manage that, and all this. There's a lot of questions that could be scary. So I really want to teach people and show them that it's not so bad.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Sounds like, if I were to walk into your classroom any given day, that you may have, 17 different things going on if you have, 17 different kids. So in terms of people attending your session, who do you think what kind of teacher or person is going to get the most out of coming to your session? Is it designed for middle school science teacher, or is it broad enough for everybody to enjoy, or what's the target here?
Yeah, so really I think it's broad enough. The audience I usually present to is middle school and high school, I would say. And really it could be for people who already flip, because maybe you do it a certain way, and now maybe I can open your eyes to how you can use the skills you already have, and just now maybe open some new doors for some kids. Or it could be for people who've never flipped, and just to kind of maybe explain to them what it can even do and why even start down this process to begin with. So it's definitely open to anyone.
Can I come?
Yeah.
I haven't interviewed a person yet that I didn't want to be sitting front row center and be like, oh, I'll ask questions. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's great though. It's going to be a lot of good presenters.
Yeah. So the other part of being at a conference, though, is not presenting, but just attending. So, as an attendee, not a presenter, FlipTech East Coast, kind of in your backyard, it's an hour and a half away or so. What do you hope to get out of coming to the conference and just being a part of it?
Yeah, so I think I'm excited just to hear everyone's unique style, because I feel like my style is unique to me. So I feel like anyone who I've ever met who's done flipped puts their own personal twist on it. So I'm really excited to see those personal twists that people are doing, whether it be tech tools or just ways to manage it or ways to reach different kids. So like we talked about, we have people flying in from different countries. So like I'm just excited to hear, I don't know, everyone's personal twist, and then take whatever I can take back to make my style even better and stronger.
Yeah, and that's really funny, because everybody who I talk to in these interviews, they say, "Well, I want to meet people and I want to talk to them about what they do."
Yeah.
And that's not exactly what you said, but that's, in essence, that's what you're saying, is that, like, I want to meet people and see what they do and how to make my stuff better. That's great. We love that. Now, so Kyle, I need to ask you this. The digital citizen in me needs to do this first. Is that I have a question that I have not sent you. For the audience, I sent Kyle a list of questions beforehand. He was able to look at them. We talked about them off camera a little bit, but there's another question that I'd like to ask you, if you're okay with me asking you another question that's not on the list.
Sure.
Okay, so my guess is your classroom probably looks different today than it did when you started 12 years ago. You said you'd been teaching 12 years ago.
Yeah, very much.
Okay, so if you were gonna pick 3 words to describe your classroom today, okay, and I know you have kids coming in about 10 minutes, so we could probably live those 3 words too. But if you could pick 3 words to describe your classroom, what would those 3 words be?
Ownership.
Okay.
Choice. And let's see, I would say, this is gonna be weird, but like remembering. I think that kids now, like, they'll come back like years later and it's stuck. It's in their brain because of like how we learn. Like it sticks in their brain. They remember so much about what we learn, way more than they ever have in the past. So that's why I'm saying remembering.
Wow. Okay, so ownership. What was
choice?
What was
choice? Ownership, choice, and
choice. Right.
I couldn't think anything other than remembering.
Well, I get you. Like it becomes their own. They
yeah.
Kind of,
I mean, it's how many times do kids come in the very next year and they're like, we forgot this and we forgot that, and it's wonderful, because I have been lucky enough to hear many kids say, like, I really still remember like everything from last year, and I think so much that is just due to giving kids the ownership and the choice to learn it how they want to learn it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a little time talking about your session here at FlipTech. We enjoyed having you.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, so Kyle will be speaking at FlipTech East Coast. His session is titled Flip Learning and UDL, How Flip Learning Can Allow Students Choice and Ownership of Their Learning. Kyle, thank you so much for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it for this episode of the FlipTech East Coast podcast. We hope that you join us at the conference. Again, for more information or to register, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org. Again, that website is fliptech.fliplearning.org, and we can't wait to see you there.